name is Brian Rivera, and I am the head coach and owner of Capital Endurance Coaching. And today I am delighted to have my dear friend Arnaldo Perez with us for a casual conversation on Arnaldo. So, without further ado, what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with Arnaldo giving us a little bit of his background. And Arnaldo, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm 60, almost 62 years old. Been swimming since I was 6. Uh, Swam for all the way through college. Then I quit for a few years, and then in 1990 I got back into swimming through a master's program in our local YMCA. On my personal side, recently retired, been retired for a little over a year, worked in the food and telecommunications industries for over 30 years. So trying to enjoy life more as a retired person now.
Congratulations, Arnaldo. That is wonderful. Can you, I know you just briefly touched on how you swim through college. Can you tell us a little bit more about that story, how you found swimming or swimming found you as a age grouper and then
Yeah,
college and
sure.
onwards?
Started swimming when I was 6 years old by a medical recommendation. I was what they called back then a hyperactive kid. So the doctor suggested to my mom to try swimming as a way for me to channel my energy. So I took lessons, and the coach that was giving the lessons told my mom that he thought that I had some talent, and that I should try joining a team. So started my first team in 1968 when I was 6 years old. And again, swam through, seriously, like I like to say, through high school. And through those years, I was able to represent Puerto Rico as an age grouper at Central American Games. Then when I went to college, I did college in Puerto Rico. I did swim for the college team, but back then it was only 1 meter a year. So I was really training for probably 4 or 5 months out of the year. So I did that, and when I finished my bachelor's degree, I quit swimming altogether. And that was back in 1984. I did my MBA through 1986. Then I came back to Puerto Rico, started working, and I joined the local YMCA as a way to start working out and trying to get in shape. And there I found out there was a master's team, because there was a master's swimmers league in Puerto Rico, which I did not know of. And they invited me to join the YMCA team, which I did in 1990. And then that's when my master's career started, and here I am, almost 33 years later.
You said 1984, and that was the year I was born. So my eyes opened wide. One of the questions that I had for you is, when and how did you rekindle your passion for the sport? And what was your original intent, whether it was recreational, just resuming an active lifestyle, or, as we now know you, competitive? I know you touched on that briefly, but could you maybe elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, when I came back, it was I was looking more for exercise, active lifestyle. I never considered swimming because I didn't know that there was even master swimming in Puerto Rico when I first got back into the water. And even after I started competing, yeah, I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to do, if I really wanted to get back into the grind, or I just wanted to do it to complement the exercise that I was doing. I'd say that it was probably a year later that we went out on a YMCA Nationals master swim trip that I did much better than expected, and I said, well, I mean, maybe I should give this another go. So I would say that probably end of 91, beginning of 92 is when I really considered starting to train again to see how far I could take it.
Nice. That's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
I have a little story I want to tell you. I didn't tell you this before. but I still remember vividly when I met you. It was the summer or some point, maybe the spring of 1998. I was 14 years old, and as an age group swimmer, I used to swim at the University of Sacred Heart in Puerto Rico, Santurce. And I remember you showing up one day to one of our age group practices, and you went into one of the far end lanes that was one of the lanes that the masters used to use, and you were doing our workout in the masters lane. And then later I asked our now coach to PG, Ramon Cacho, I was like, who's that old dude keeping up with us, the youngsters? And since then, you've always been quite the inspiration for me. So I think it's interesting that at my age now, almost 40, that when I met you, I always joked that you were a couple of years younger than what I am now. And the notion of, I thought, 14-year-old thinking that, who is this old dude? Now it backfires on me. So I think it's a great story for both of us that we had that special connection. And to see you now, continue performing and training, it's quite the inspiration. So let's move on. I have more questions for you. Maybe I failed in doing my homework and introducing our audience here on your allocates and all the feats that you've done. I think we can do that later. I can do a little intro. But I know that you are a World Masters record holder, multiple time world champion, Masters champion in swimming.
Yeah.
For your age group. You've done it for not just your current age group, you've done it for previous age groups as well. So one of the questions that I think would be, that I'm curious myself, and I think other folks can benefit from hearing, is when did the thought of becoming a Masters world champion and record holder begin, and how did you navigate that process? I mean, I think most of us, like you said, you kind of pick up a lifestyle, and if you were maybe a little bit good, you're like, okay, I can do this or that time. But I don't think many of us think like, I want to become a world champion. So can you tell us about that process?
Yeah. I mean, it's the best way that I can describe it is that it has been a journey. It's been a journey. I mean, I've been swimming masters now for almost 33 years. I mean, at the beginning, the thought of becoming world champion, I mean, didn't even cross my mind, to be totally honest. I was just happy being back in the water. I was happy doing fairly good times, which I thought at the beginning I was doing fairly good times. I mean, I did go to my first world championships in '94, and I got a fourth and a sixth and a seventh, and I was really excited that I was being able to, for the first time, see myself in the top 10 in the world. Which could have been like a first goal for me. But it wasn't until 1998 that I won my first World Championship medal in the '98 Worlds in Morocco, which was a fairly small. It was a fairly small World Championships back then. So, I mean, that's a medal that I sort of put on quotes because I mean I got a silver medal, but when I saw the final rankings, world rankings, which for me is the true measure of how well you've done, I ended up like 6th or 7th, so I knew there was still room to grow, even though I had gotten my first medal. My first World Championship did not come until 2008, so 18 years later is when and it was sort of unexpected. I mean, I knew I was swimming relatively well because I've been able to maintain my times even as I was getting older, even improving some of my times. I did some of my PBs were when I was 50 something.
Insane.
So I knew in some of the events I knew I had a chance, but when I won my first World Championship in the 800 freestyle, it was quite a surprise. It was quite a surprise. Obviously, it's going to be an unforgettable moment. In that World Championships, I also won my second World Championship in the 200 fly. So, I mean, the journey took 18 years to win a World Championship. The following year, in 2009, I had my first world record in a relay, in the 4x200 relay. So that was sort of another milestone. Uh, and then through the 2010s, yes, I did not win another gold medal until 2017. So I did 2 golds in 2008. I went 5 silvers. No, I got 1 gold in 2012 and 5 silvers. Then I got 2 silvers and 2 bronzes in 2014. And then in 2017, it was like my big breakout year where I won 5 golds and a silver. Uh, and to your question, when did I start thinking about world records? I guess I think after World Championships in 2017, uh, when I saw my times and I started looking what were the world records at the 60-year-old age group, I began to think that I had a chance. I had been able to maintain my times in my key events. For example, I swam 9:20 in 2004 and I swam 9:12 in 2019.
Wow.
So I said, well, I mean, in 2019 I was 57 and I was thinking, well, world record back then was 9:27. So I said, yeah, I may have a chance to do that. The same thing with the 1500, even though I thought the 1500 time was harder, at 18:01. So the goal became to become the first 60-year-old to break 18 minutes in a race that you swam with me.
I sure did.
So
and you crushed me.
So I would say at 57 was the time where I thought that I did have a chance to get an individual world record, which for me was like the ultimate achievement. I mean, I had won world championships. I had been #1 in the world. I had done a relay world record. I had never done an individual world record.
Yeah. So let me interject there because it's not a question that I had planned, but I feel like I can relate to you in the sense that we both grew up swimming, had the opportunity to represent our homeland, Puerto Rico, in age group swim meets. And then, you swim collegiate here, and I swim collegiate in the United States at Villanova University. When you get to that point where you're now, #1 in the world and a record holder, did it validate, not validate, but how, can you maybe share with us that feeling of finally getting to solidify, validate, however you want to call it, that feeling of something that you wanted? Because I know you and I talk about, I don't think neither one of us went to the Olympics or we had the opportunity to, achieve other sort of professional goals, but I think that, I know you're very successful. You had a very successful professional career. Myself, I feel like I do have my own successful professional career as well. So can you say more about that?
Yeah, for me the first thought was probably, it's never too late.
Nice.
So the things that I was never able to do as an age grouper, nice. I was able to do as a master swimmer. So, and the satisfaction of achieving a goal. I mean, because once I saw that as a possibility, I really worked hard towards that. I really made it a plan that when I turned 60, I was going to try to establish 6 world records. That was my plan: 400, 800, 1500, long course and short course.
Nice.
And fortunately for me, I was able to do that. So it was a very nice reward. I mean, I really worked hard for it. But for me, the most important thing was that it is never too late. Some people achieve greatness, if you want to call it that way, when they're a teenager. Some people do it in their 20s. Well, in my case, it happened in my 60s. But I mean, I was as excited as if it was supposed to happen when I was 20 or 25. Yeah. Just because it was a big payout for a big investment that I decided to do a couple of years before.
Yeah, and I know we have a couple viral pictures of you, Michael Phelps type of life, with your 7 or 6 gold medals. So we'll put a clip of that. So let's move on with our next question. So I'm always bragging about you to my friends up in Maryland in the DC area about your accomplishments and everything that you've done So I asked them to send me some questions for you, and this one comes from my um, former triathlon coach, Greg Nelson. So Greg, if you're listening, this one is your question. And Greg asks, um, what do you think makes you particularly successful versus others at your age at 60 plus? And can you share what you do to continue improving on your technique? What are some of your favorite workouts? And what do you do to remain motivated in your training?
In terms of what does keep me, what do I think are some of the things that
Differentiate, yeah.
at 60? I mean, I think work ethic at the end of the day, I think for me is the top thing. I mean, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the mileage, and I've been very consistent at that. I mean, I train, I am consistent in my training, and that has definitely yielded results. I mean, I tell people as well. I mean, physically, even though I'm not too tall, I'm fairly fit for my age group. I still think I'm fairly strong, and that definitely makes a difference, especially in the type of events that I'd like to swim, which is middle and long distance. So I would say those are the top two things. Now that I'm retired, I try to rest a little more. I do take naps almost every day after workouts if I can, because I mean, obviously you don't recover as quickly as when I was your age. So I would say those are some of the things that I think have kept me. I mean, at my level, I'm performing relatively well at my age. Tips and tricks and things that I'm working on right now. I would say the biggest difference now, I would say, is dry land.
Okay.
I'm trying to do more dry land than I did before, and I'm trying to do a lot more stretching than I did before. I am not a particularly flexible guy, so I'm trying to devote more time to the stretching portion of my workout, because I believe it's gonna help. Again, I said rest. I mean, I do try to make time to rest and sleep my hours every night. Things that I'm working on right now. I mean, we're working this morning. I mean, my flips aren't very good, and for a 1500 swimmer, obviously that can make a big difference. So I'm focused on that, on my underwaters, a bit of my stroke in general, and the freestyle. So those are the things that I'm really focusing right now in the off season. Other tricks, I usually train. I train 5 times a week. Usually, when I'm in season for a competition, I train 5 times a week. So I train 3 days, and then I rest a day, and then I go back and go in the water for the next 2 days, and that has personally helped me a lot, because after 3 strong workouts, having mentally knowing that I'm going to have a break in between before I go to my last 2 really makes a big difference. So I usually do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then I do Fridays and Saturdays, and that has worked. I keep notebooks on my workouts for the last probably 10 or 12 years.
Wow.
So I like to go back, and when I'm in season, I try to go back, and I know some of the sets that I've done, and I go back to see how am I doing now versus 3, 4, 5 years ago, and maybe sometimes I've forgotten workouts that I had done, so I go back and try to do those workouts again, just to try to keep it interesting. And again, it's a form of motivating myself to see how far off I am from the times that I was doing 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. So there you have it. I think being consistent, resting your body, working your weaknesses. So I think it's very insightful that at any age, those are very, critical things that we should all be kind of thinking about anyways. So I appreciate that you still want to eke out some of the distance out of your flip turns.
Yeah, no, and I think, well, the other thing is that I enjoy working out. I mean, it's for me, I enjoy working out even more than competing, to be totally honest, because I mean I love the everyday challenge and how far can I go and how far can I take it. Obviously, I compete because I know I train hard and I'm doing well, but the daily challenges are important for me, and I think that you need to have the love of the sport. I mean, to take it to the highest level, you really need to enjoy what you're doing, and in my case, well, I really do enjoy being in the water.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, so let's talk about what's next. So tell us what's next in 2024. What is your
Yeah,
race calendar looking like?
well, my calendar was clear like till like 3 weeks ago. I mean, my plan was to next year. My plan, World Championships are in February. I had not considered them because they were just in August in Japan, and I just was not ready mentally to go through the grind again to go and swim 6 months later. So I was focusing on short course season. I missed the 400 IM world record in October. I missed it by 25 100ths of a second. So I was gearing to go to the Canadian Masters Championships in May and attempt for the third time to try to break that record. A family trip has come up in March for 2 weeks, so that has derailed me a bit. So depending on the type of shape I'm in, if not Canada, I'll try to look for a competition, a short course meter competition in June or July, to try and attempt that 400 IM record. All my world records are in freestyle, so if I were able to get an IM record, I would be extremely happy. So that would be for 24. Then 25 World Championships, that's definitely on the calendar, August of 2025, Singapore. I mean, I'll be in the middle of my age group, but I think it'll be an interesting challenge swimming against the youngsters. So I'll definitely be gearing up for that. So I would say that 24 is undecided, but something short course, I'll definitely try to do that, and then World Championships in 2025.
So, what I appreciate what you just shared is that I know even in retirement you are still a family man, someone who makes time for doing vacation with your dear ones, and that you're still keeping balance with your schedule, which I think for our audience, I think it's good to know that you can be committed to a goal, but it's okay to also
Sure.
take time off, recover.
And I will admit to everybody that this is something that I have learned in my later years. So this was not always like that, but I have learned the hard way that you do have to make the time, and that in our case, or in my case, I mean, family is very important. So we'll look for some other ways of trying to achieve the goals.
Wonderful. So again, going back to what you share about retiring, congratulations.
No, thanks.
I know that you have a very critical role with Special Olympics in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to share what that role is, and maybe share with the audience
Sure.
what you do.
Sure. I've been involved in Special Olympics in Puerto Rico since 2016. And in July of last year, I became president of Special Olympics in Puerto Rico. Very honored to hold that position and play that role. I'm sure many of you have heard of Special Olympics. It's a wonderful organization. I encourage each and every one of the people that listen to check out the local Special Olympics. And if you have time to volunteer, time to donate, it would be really appreciated. Everything in Special Olympics is moving towards what we call unified sports, which is where people with and without the intellectual disabilities share the playing field. So now in sports, in basketball, in table tennis, you see competitions where people with and without this intellectual disabilities play together, and that should need to happen more, not only in sports but in everyday life. So part of the things that we're trying to do in Puerto Rico here is create consciousness to every member of society that there's people out there that because of the fact that they have a disability, that they should have the same rights and the same opportunities as all of us. So part of our role is try to open those doors, create those bridges for our athletes and the community in general to have the opportunity to be as successful as they possibly can. So again, very happy to do that. Encourage you to join in some way or form. I assure you it'll be very worth your time.
That's wonderful. So I think this is a good way to kind of wrap it up. On a personal note, I wanted to thank you.
Oh,
I think you've been a role model to me personally, in and out of the water. Every time I'm here in Puerto Rico, you know that I always try to be there to train with you, be your
much appreciated
training buddy. I think that again in this interview, I think we've all we can gather some very critical nuggets on how to train, how to maintain balance, how to stay civically engaged. And again, I think I encourage everyone to, like Arnaldo said, go to Special Olympics. If you want to track Arnaldo's journey, where can they find you or follow you?
They can follow, I'm Arnaldo Master Swimmer Perez in Facebook, and on Instagram you can find me as Master Swimmer.
Okay, great. So we'll add a little bit of that. And on that note, I do want to say that I think I want to commit to Singapore world champs myself. Maybe my first world champs, master world champs. So so we look forward to hearing more from you.
Excellent.
So
thank you very
Arnaldo.
much.